Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar of this morning. The webinar today will be talking about the revised Guide 29 that talks about the CEN and CENELEC Workshop Agreements. And today you will see how they can boost innovation, and you will learn about the differences with the differences with European standards. So my name is Els, and I'll be moderating the webinar in the background today. You will all be muted, so you cannot speak out loud, but we do invite you to use the Q&A panel to submit your questions. You can submit your questions there, and these speakers will have a look at the questions as far as possible after the presentations. Should your question remain unreplied today, please don't worry, because we intend to make a Q&A report available afterwards. The webinar has also been recorded, so you will receive the presentation and the recording in your inbox later today. So I think that without further ado, we can dive into the topic of today. Let me first introduce, of course, the speakers of today. My colleague Alessia Gattani is Project Manager Manufacturing in the Standardization Department at CEN-CENELEC. And we have the pleasure to have connected today Mr. Fernando Utrilla, who is Head of Research and Innovation Unit at UNE, or a Spanish member. So please, Alessia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Els. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. This is the agenda of what we will go through today. The presentation is structured in 4 parts. The concept of the workshops and the CWAs, and then we will dive more into details in the different stages of a workshop. We will also have a look at the main changes in the edition 2024 of Guide 29 compared to the previous one. And finally, we will have the practical experience from UNE. Few words about CEN and CENELEC, for those of you who don't know us that well. CEN and CENELEC, along with ETSI, are the European standardization organizations recognized by European law, by Regulation 1025. And as such, we are also producing standards in support of regulations and not of the European single market. We are membership-based organizations. We have 34 members from all over Europe that you see here. You see their logos here. And of course, standardization happens at different levels, indeed at national level, through our national standardization bodies that are developing their own standards and that are working at European level, participating in CEN and CENELEC, and adopting European standards. So the standards that are produced at European level are identical in all of European members, and this is the strength of the system, of course. And whenever possible, we also go international. We try to adopt global solutions. We have 2 agreements. CEN has a specific agreement with ISO, the so-called Vienna Agreement, and CENELEC, the Frankfurt Agreement with IEC. So whenever possible, we either develop standards in parallel with these 2 organizations, or we adopt published standards. In these slides, you can see the range of deliverables that we develop and offer. You are probably more familiar with the first 3 in gray. So the European standards EN, technical specifications, DSs, and technical report TRs that are developed in technical committees that are composed of national delegations. So in each of the technical committees, there are representatives from the countries bringing their national positions in the standard development. And then we have the CEN and/or CENELEC Workshop Agreements, in short CWAs, that are instead developed in workshops with individual interested parties. So we will focus more on that later, of course, but yes, one important element for you to keep in mind is that in workshops, the people sitting there are not representing national interests or national positions. They are representing their individual expertise. So diving into the concept of workshops and CWAs, Guide 29 which title is CEN and/or CENELEC Workshop Agreements, a rapid way to standardization, was developed with the intention of supporting innovative markets that often need a reference document that might be a stepping stone to other standardization deliverables, such as European standards. But in case where European standards, for instance, are not the right deliverable in that moment because the market perhaps is not developed enough. They facilitate interoperability and compatibility of systems, and they enhance market uptake of innovative solutions. So indeed, if there are innovative solutions, technologies on the market that are not consolidated yet, CWAs might be a good way to introduce some harmonization on that topic before jumping to, for instance, European standards or TSs or TRs. And Guide 29 is a document that was developed exactly for the purpose of providing the mechanism and the details of the development process of the workshop agreement. So in that guide, we try to summarize all the steps from the creation of the workshop to the delivery of the CWA. And we will see that in detail later. Few clarifications before we move on about definitions and about differences of concepts. So workshop that are indicated with the WS acronym are temporary group tasked to develop CWAs. So by temporary group, we mean a platform, a working platform of people. Whereas the CEN or CENELEC Workshop Agreement, CWA, is the deliverable of the workshop. So it's the publication. We noticed often that the two terms are used interchangeably, but actually, indeed, they represent two different things. So please keep it in mind, also because we will talk about workshop and workshop agreements all over this presentation. So a few benefits in the slides from the workshop and CWAs, which we will detail more more later, especially with the presentation from Fernando. But in a nutshell, the major benefits of a workshop is that workshops are flexible platforms. By flexible, we mean that there are lighter procedures compared to, for instance, the standard development process. There is the direct and voluntary participation of stakeholders. So again, it's stakeholders that are that hold an expertise on a certain subject and want to contribute to the development of a workshop agreement. And they don't have to let's say, pass through their national standardization bodies. They can directly join the workshop. And also the participants of the workshop decide on the working arrangements. So there is quite some freedom in the way of arranging meetings, in the way of reaching consensus. So it's less structure compared to the standard development. Yeah, give some more freedom. As mentioned before, workshops are open to any company or organization inside or outside Europe. This is one of the biggest differences compared to standards and other deliverables. So any stakeholder from all over the world basically can participate in the development of a CWA. It's of course a public and transparent process. As we will see later, workshops are announced and comments are open to any stakeholder that might or not participate in the workshop, but might just want to send comments. And of course, workshops allow for a rapid elaboration of documents because there are few physical meetings. I would say lately after COVID, probably really few physical meetings. It's mostly online. The work happens through electronic platforms where documents are exchanged, and the timeline is flexible. So as we will see later, the project plan defines the timeline, among other things, and if needed or wanted, a CWA could be developed in 4 or 5 months, for instance, depending on the goodwill, let's say, of participants in providing comments and contributions. So a CWA, the content of a CWA can be quite varied. It can include technical specifications or even have a more informative nature, so include guidance material, best practices, and so on. As mentioned already, can be the basis for standards at a later stage. So very often CWAs are used as a document from, for instance, technical bodies, technical committees to develop standards. The companies and organizations endorsing the CWA are listed in the publication. So in the final publication, there is a list of all the companies that participated. One thing that is very important that we will stress also during the presentation is that in the case of CWAs, there is no obligation for national standardization bodies or committees to withdraw any conflicting national standard. But the CWA shall not be in conflict with the European standard. We remind you that the European standard is the, let's say, the top deliverable that, as we will see later, holds a standstill. And of course, CWAs are subject to, let's say, the exploitation rights, and the details of the policy and exploitation rights are detailed in the CEN and CENELEC Guide to 10 that we invite you to have a look at. This table summarizes the differences between European standards and CWAs. In a way, we have already saw these differences. Again, regarding standstill, keep in mind that standstill applies to standards only, not to CWAs. So this gives some freedoms to CWAs to national bodies to keep working on their topics without having to withdraw them or drop them when a CWA is published. CWAs are developed in only one language compared to the standards. The public consultation in CWAs is not mandatory, but it's recommended. And as we will see later, this should be detailed in the project plan in principle. The approval of the CWA is on the registered participants, the participants of the workshop. So there is not a vote taking place at national level. The withdrawal of conflicting national standard, as we said, is mandatory for ENs, but not for CWAs. And also making the CWA available at national level is not mandatory in the case of CWAs. We notice that in the biggest majority of cases, if not for all of the CWAs, those are also applied at national level. We will go now through the different stages of a workshop. Of course, keep in mind that Guide 29 is much more detailed. So in case of doubts, please consult the document. But I try to summarize here the main things for you to keep in mind. This diagram summarizes indeed the stages. And as you can see from the arrows, there is different phases of inputs required from the workshop participants, but also from external stakeholders in case there is public consultation on the CWAs. And then the CWA, indeed, CWA publication is the output. So starting from the proposal of a new workshop, keep in mind that a workshop proposer can be any stakeholder, and that this proposer needs to be supported by a CEN and/or CENELEC member that will hold the workshop secretariat. So in case a stakeholder is interested in starting a workshop, they need to have the support of a member. In exceptional cases, the first point of contact for a workshop proposer can also be the CEN-CENELEC Management Center. It's rare, but it can happen, and in the moment it happened, CCMC will help to find a member that is available to take up this role. So once an agreement between the proposer and the member is found in terms of running the secretariat, the workshop secretary shall prepare a workshop description form and submit it to CCMC. We will focus later on this description form and what it requires. And when the CCMC standardization director receives the description form, they will also appoint a sectoral PM to follow up. As mentioned before, the workshop, the installment of a workshop and the development of CWA is very transparent, it's public. So in the moment the CCMC receives the workshop description form, we will announce the workshops and the related CWAs planned to be developed. So we post the news on the CEN-CENELEC website for 30 days, during which stakeholders can comment on the draft project plan and possibly on a draft CWA if already available. And CEN-CENELEC technical boards are also informed. There are some accompanying documents that are posted along with the news. So the draft project plan, it's the key document detailing how the workshop intends to work, with which timeline, and what are the deliverables of the workshop. And also in this news, the kickoff meeting is announced. So there will be a kickoff meeting agenda attached to it, and all the details to register, and the registration form to join the workshop. The kickoff meeting indeed marks the start of the work. So it takes place at least 30 days after the announcement. During the kickoff meeting, the chairperson and the secretary of the workshop will be appointed. Of course, they have a key role, as they have it also in the technical bodies. So the workshop chairperson, of course, chairs the meetings and makes sure that consensus is reached before the CWA is sent to publication. And the workshop secretary is in charge of the administration, but not only, they are also the bridge between the workshop and CCMC for all that matters, starting the public consultation phase, if foreseen, and publishing the final CWA. During the kickoff meeting, there will be also the consideration of comments received during the 30 days of public consultation and the approval of the project plan, along with the definition of working mode. So usually during the kickoff, it's decided when the group will meet, when are the deadlines for providing comments, and so on. After the kickoff meeting, the workshop and the CWA will be registered in the CEN-CENELEC database. As we will see later, this will happen thanks to a form that will be sent by the workshop secretary to CCMC. And also participants will have to register officially if they haven't done it yet through the registration form. And a few words about the participation in the workshop. So the signature of the registration form is conditional to the participation to the workshop. Through the registration form, participants also agree to assign the exploitation rights of individual contribution to the CWAs, to CEN and CENELEC. Now, I should mention that the assignment of this exploitation right doesn't mean that then the contributors cannot use their content anymore. They will still be able to do that. It's just that they are indeed allowing CEN and CENELEC to use their content. Then keep in mind that joining the workshop after the kickoff meeting or during the development phase of the CWA actually is possible. So at any time, technically, during the development of the CWA, it is possible to join the workshop, but this will require the agreement of the other members of the workshop. And also, something very important to mention is that the participation in the kickoff meeting doesn't imply necessarily participation in the workshop. It might be that there are stakeholders interested to see, to learn about the workshop and the CWA that they will develop, but they might not want to contribute to it. So this is perfectly okay to do, and indeed the participation will be official when the registration form will be signed. The role of the workshop participants is, of course, to provide comments and input to the draft documents. So it's an active participation that is expected, and also the final approval of the CWA depends on the consensus found among the participants that, again, would be secured by the chairperson. Then the drafting and consultation, it's a key phase, of course. Keep in mind that the workshop works, as said before, but usually by correspondence or in person, a bit more rarely lately. And will draft the document in line with the CEN and CENELEC internal regulation part 3, so about drafting of CEN and CENELEC deliverable, and the CWA simple template. So this might happen over 1, 2, 3 meetings. There is not an established number of meetings. Of course, this is defined in the project plan. And once a stable draft is reached, and if defined in the project plan or decided later by the workshop, the final draft will be published on the CEN and CENELEC website for 30 days for a public consultation. And the BTs, the technical boards, will be informed, and they will also share the news at national level for people interested to comment. And once all the comments are collected from the public consultation and also from the workshop itself, all the positions will be considered, will be summarized, and then there will be the approval phase. So again, it's the workshop that approves the final CWA. There is not a voting system in place as opposed to technical committees, where national delegations have one voting right each. So it's really based on consensus. And once the draft is ready, there is a final draft ready, it's the task of the workshop secretary to submit it through the submission interface. So it all happens electronically and not by email, as it used to be the case in the past years. Everything happens through the submission interface. CCMC performs a light editing in accordance to internal regulation part 3 and the CWA simple template. I say light editing because it's not comparable to what we do with European standards, for instance. And so this editing also usually takes place faster And of course, there is no translation happening after editing, as it is the case for standard. So the whole process is usually quite fast. Then the CWA is published and it's notified to national members for their possible adoption at national level. About the lifetime of the CWA, it might be a bit complex, and I try to simplify it in this slide, but I invite you to have a look at Guide 29 to better understand in the detail. So the principle here is that the CWA is valid for 3 years. After these 3 years, something has to happen. So in case one, if the maintenance of the CWAs has not been previously allocated to the CEN or CENELEC technical body, CCMC will notify the permanent delegate sitting at the board that is holding the CEN workshop secretariat that the 3-year limit has been reached. And then the CEN workshop secretariat at this point shall consult the participants of the workshop, and when possible, the chair and the relevant technical bodies that might be covering that subject. Or in the case number 2, if the maintenance of the CWA has been already allocated to a technical body, the secretary of the technical body shall launch a ballot within the technical body. In both cases, the outcome of this consultation can lead to 4 different cases. So the CWA can be confirmed for another 3 years. It can be revised through a new CWA. It can be converted into another deliverable, or it can be withdrawn. In any case, a CWA has a maximum lifetime of 6 years, so it can be reconfirmed for 3 years after the first 3 years, which gives in total 6 years. But after 6 years, even if the CWA has been revised during this time, the CWA will be submitted by CCMC to the CEN and/or CENELEC technical boards for decision regarding its withdrawal. Something important to mention is that at any point in its life cycle, the CWA can be converted into another standardization deliverable. And this can be proposed by any member or by a technical body. And when this conversion is proposed, we need to have a technical body, a technical committee that can take this deliverable on board. So the workshop cannot develop a standard or technical specification. The establishment of an EN or a TS will happen according to Part 2 of CEN and CENELEC internal regulations. So through the normal process, to a CIB or CIV in CENELEC, new work item proposal form, and so on. So the regular approval process. Here I left some useful links of what I've mentioned during the presentation so far. And now I will spend a few more minutes about the main changes of Guide 29 from the 2020 edition. So the guide was revised recently. The review started actually in June 2023. It took a few months, and it was finally approved by CEN and CENELEC BTs in February 2024, and it was published in March 2024. So all the details that we are presenting today are fairly new, and it's the purpose of this webinar to introduce you to these changes. Now there is a lot of text in this slide, but I will go quick. It's just for you to keep in mind the important forms and templates that will play a key role in the establishment of the workshop and of the new work item, so of the CWA. For those of you who are familiar with the previous guide, before we used to have a proposal form and a project plan template. So these were two separate documents that were also submitted at two different times to CCMC. We have merged these two documents in one single document, the workshop description form, that is still structured into parts. So part A is the workshop summary, which is 2 pages, is indeed a summary. So it's supposed to give at a glance the characteristic of the workshop and of the deliverable as well, of the CWA. And part B is the project plan. There is a template for the project plan. We try to make it a bit slimmer compared to the previous edition. And yeah, being a template, you can of course follow it strictly, or you can delete parts that are not relevant. These two parts, so the workshop description form, will be submitted to CCMC at the same time. And we believe that this will facilitate both the work of the workshop secretary and also the receiving of all the necessary documents at CCMC level. The other important form is the new CWA new work item form that used to exist before, but now we have introduced in more fields that are useful not only for the registration of the CWA into the database, but also for the registration of the workshop and the creation of the electronic platform. So for instance, a dedicated workspace on the CEN documents. So everything is in one document, and workshop secretaries should be facilitated in principle to send all the information needed to CCMC. Some other changes, a very relevant one is about the exclusion of safety-related topics from CEN CWAs. So before, it used to be excluded only from CENELEC CWAs, but the BTs have agreed in extending this concept also to CEN CWAs. We have introduced a prescriptive consultation within the concerned technical bodies at the moment of establishing the workshop. So actually, before establishing the workshop, the concerned technical bodies that might have an overlapping scope with the workshop will be consulted. The maintenance of the CWAs that we have seen before is actually aligned now with the BT decision from 2023. We have removed any provision about voting from a workshop, because indeed this is not the way workshop work. It's not like the vote happening in technical committees. The mention of possible free download, which was before included in CEN and CENELEC Guide 10, has now been moved to Guide 29 in Clause 8, and this refers to the distribution of CWAs in the R&D and ICT domains. And also, through the matrix of responsibilities in Annex A, we have better defined the roles and indeed who shall do what at what times during the development of a CWA. So we hope that this will bring some clarity. Okay, so time for me to give the floor to Fernando, that will share with you the practical experience from the Spanish standardization body. Fernando.
Thank you very much, Alessia. I'm very glad to be here in this webinar. I think I've seen many questions during the Alessia's presentation, and I think to talk and to clarify about this kind of tools can be interesting for you, and I hope you can apply this knowledge in the future. To start introducing a bit myself, I'm the head of research and innovation issues in UNE, the Spanish Association for Standardization. We are a private and non-for-profit association. We were working for more than 30 years now, and we are the members of the CEN, CENELEC, ETSI, and also the international ISO AC and GAPAN standards organizations. And the next one, please. Yes, thank you. As part of our standardization activities, we understand that the contribution from research and innovation to standardization and vice versa is quite important for us, and so we are one of the most active national standardization bodies in Europe regarding the participation in research and innovation projects. Basically from framework programs, European framework programs, and from we started in 2012, and we got so far more than 110 projects already finished or running. Now, if you click again, Alessia, we'll see a bit of a sample of the kind of topics in which we are involved in this kind of projects. This doesn't mean that there are topics in which innovation, in which standardization is more relevant, but it probably means that in the topics in which you see more participation, probably there are more requirements in the calls, in the calls of the European Commission. So probably this is why people asking us in more cases to participate. No, but I think the relevance of the standardization is the same almost in every topic. For example, in the next slide, we see maybe the reasons why standardization is important for research and innovation projects. The most clear reason is to increase the impact of the project, the impact outside the consortium itself, the impact in industry, basically, but also in public authorities, and finally in the society, you know. And this supports the exploitation of the results as well. Is a way to get networking with different stakeholders from those included in the projects, with the industry, with different, also researchers and so on. But it's a way to increase the impact of the project. And regarding the organizations participating in this kind of activities, either companies or even SMEs or research and innovation organizations, looking a bit forward than one single project, it is very interesting to have a strategy and standardization, because this can help to promote the activities performed in a research, in a longer research line or in a business line. No? So it is quite important. And this is highlighted in two important European policies. The first one is the knowledge valorization policy, which is trying to push the results of research and innovation into practical solutions that help the society. And for this, they have published as well a code of practice on standardization, including a lot of recommendations, very interesting for the participants in research and innovation projects, but also for universities, academia, research organizations, and also for the governments of the different European countries. And the second policy is the European standardization strategy, in which this link with innovation is already highlighted, but from the point of view, from our point of view, from the point of view of the standards organizations, while the knowledge valorization policy is more from the point of view of the researchers. So next one, please. Well, in more practical terms, when is interesting to use standardization in a project? Well, first, in the first case, when there is you are answering a specific call in which there is a requirement on standardization. Well, this is almost mandatory if you want to get funded. But there are many cases then in which there are not explicit requirements, but implicit ones that maybe the call can ask for market or for industry uptake of the solutions, from replicability to foster the interoperability of the solutions. And for all these requirements, standardization can be an interesting tool. So you can use it to cover also these kind of requirements. And even if no requirement of this way, it is quite difficult that there is not a requirement similar to those. But in any case, as I said before, it can be interesting in any call, in any topic, because it can enhance this impact of the project. And so by including it in the proposals, it will be increasing the quality and the completeness of the proposal, and this should be taken into account in the evaluations as well. So the next one, please. Yes, and the kind of activities that can be performed in the projects, standardization activities, I mean, I put, for example, the ones that we perform in the majority of the projects. In the first part of the project, we gather information about the current standards and the current standardization activities which are in place at this moment, and that can be relevant for the activities to be performed in the project. Later, we enter into contact with the existing standards organizations and technical committees which are dealing and which can be interested in the results of the project. We introduce them the projects, we share information with them, we ask for their impressions, their willingness to standardize the possible results of the project. So we interchange a lot of information with them. And in the last part of the project, of course, we try to contribute to generate new standards from the results obtained in the project, or for information generated in the project. We try to generate new standards or revise existing standards. No? And in this aspect, you see there the data. A great majority, more than 80% of our results are CWAs. We have published or around to be published about more than 60 CWAs so far. We got also other results. This is not the 80-20 of the project, but of the result, because you will see in some examples later that in some cases we use in the same project both types of results, or more than one type of results. In other cases, we have generated one technical report, in one case, one EN standards, or the equivalent at national level of the CWAs, which are the unit specifications. We have promoted the review of the existing standards. We have created new working groups in topics. So there are different solutions, but as you see, the most usual one is the CWA. And in the next slide, yes, this is why, explanation of why this is the most used solution. Alessia has explained very well the benefits of the CWAs, but just summarizing, the most important maybe can be the fast elaboration. It's important to get this work finished and the document published during the duration of the project, during the life of the project. And this can be done perfectly with a CWA. It's a specific document for research and innovation results for topics in which the knowledge is not well established in the market, which is on the contrary, is to be something to be put on the market and to check the readiness or not of the solution. And also they have the benefit that is it is a standardization document at the end, and it can be promoted as the basis for a future full standard, no, EN or ISO standard. The next one, please. Yes, well, that's all from my side. I only want to show some examples, a few examples of real projects in which UN has been taking part, and the results we have obtained with using the CWAs. No, for example, in these two cases, we have used it, as I mentioned before, the CWAs together with other standardization tools. In the first one, Next Tower was a project, Horizon 2020 project, developing new materials for concentrated solar power towers, like the one in the picture. And well, they developed one new testing method for the ceramic materials, and we include this method in a new CWA. But in parallel, they realized that there was an ISO standard, including as well a different test method that was relevant for them, but doesn't cover completely the new material. So they asked for the revision, and we get very happy, very lucky in this case, because the revision was almost in place, and the participant in the project can lead the revision of this ISO standard and ensure the inclusion of the knowledge from the project into the new version of the standard. And the second one, Arete, was related with augmented reality for educational purposes, and we publish a CWA, but also they participate in a lot of ISO, IEC, and IEEE groups, and even with leading roles there, and promoting and generating other kind of documents in this organization. So this is an example of a variety of solutions. The next one, please. Yes, bionic aircraft was a Horizon 2020 project as well, devoted to transform the design of solid metallic parts of aircraft bodies to this, similar to this one in the picture, to very hollow parts. So they can made by additive manufacturing, so they can save a lot of weight and a lot of fuel consumption and pollution. No? In this case, well, we published two CWAs. The first one was the methodology from the redesign from the solid to the hollow part, and the second one was a quality control method for the hollow parts. No, and why I want to show you this example is because there is an ISO technical committee on biomimetics, and since the structures used in the hollow parts are copying the natural structures, like the cellulosic structures or B-high structures, this CWA on the methodology for the redesign was interesting for this ISO-TC, and they are considering to use it for the generation of a new standard. No? So it's a case of a possible upgrade of standards of CWAs to full standards. The next cases are examples of the work in parallel or work in the workshops, including or involving the TCs on the same topic. No, in plan, for example, is a running Horizon 2020 project, which is almost to be finished. And they are developing 3 CWAs linked to different aspects for additive manufacturing for body implants, for medical implants, and this is a topic which is covered by the scope of the technical committee 438. but they allow the creation of the workshop, and they are even participating and very, very active. And we are discussing with them the possibility that the TC adopts the published CWAs, so they can be the managing their maintenance in the future. In the second case, Titan, yes, was developing a power source for this kind of energy generators from the movement of the waves. And they published two different CWAs, one regarding the requirements of the product itself, and the second, a methodology for testing of this power unit inside different manufacturer solutions. So it is quite interesting from the point of view of the marketing of the product itself, no, because it's a good tool to sell the document, to say that to sell the product, to say that it is compliant with a specific standard, and that you have a methodology for testing if this product will be compatible with your system or not. No, so this is quite interesting, and in this case. Was an ISE TC on marine energy that was also involved and was aware of the evolution of and the publication of the documents. And the last case I want to introduce is VisualCAD. It was interesting because the CWA we published was covering a methodology for the synthesis of for a new methodology for synthesis of nanocatalyst for the process of hydrocarbons. And this methodology was previously patented in the project. It was developed in the early stage of the project. They asked for the patent application, the European patent application. And once the patent application was recognized and was public, then the information was free, and we can launch in the last months of the project. We were able to launch the workshop and to publish the standard, the CWA, covering this methodology that was previously patented. So it's an interesting case of good relationship between IPR and standards. And well, this is all from my side. I think we have some time for questions if you have any more. And in case, again, thank you very much for your attention. I will put in the chat my email address. So if you have any further question in the future, you can contact me. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Fernando, for sharing your experiences. Thanks a lot as well for answering the questions, because most of them were answered while they came in. There is one question still pending. Is someone wants to know what is the estimated percentage of the CWAs that are developed by uni and that are in the end transformed into European standard or even an international standard? Can you give?
Sorry, I was writing the email in the chat. I didn't hear you. Sorry. And seeing questions on the question and answer panel. How is calculated the amount of money to be paid in order to make a CWA publicly available? Well, this is according to a CEN-CENELEC guide, which states that the amount to be paid is the 8% of the budget you have for the workshop secretariat. So it is something that can be discussed with the national standardization body that will carry the secretariat. That is something to be agreed there, and then automatically you get the information on how will be the fee to be paid to make the CWA not publicly available, because all of them are publicly available, but can be downloaded for free. And roughly, what percentages of the CWA developed by UNE are transformed into EN or ISO standards? Not that much so far. It is difficult because in many cases there are they cover very specific topics, and they are not fitting completely very well with the work of the technical committees, which are more general in some cases. But well, we are publishing many of them every year, about between 10 and 14, 15 every year. And so we have a lot of young CWAs still that we are trying to push into new EN standards. Now, another difficulty is the motivation of the researchers, of the participants in the elaboration some years afterwards, to be active in the same topic and to be interested in the same topic. No, but when they are, this is why I mentioned at the beginning that it is interesting to have a long-term strategy for the participation in standardization, because this can facilitate this. No, if you are continuing to be involved in standardization activities in the same topic, you can use the work done in past CWAs to grow new standards.
Okay, thank you, Fernando. That was the last question in the list as far as I can see. So thanks a lot for answering. While people are maybe still entering a question, I would like to invite them to reply 3 questions that we have in a poll. So it's a feedback poll, 3 short questions that we would like the attendees to reply about the webinar and how we can improve for the future. So the answers will only be used for improvement reasons, of course. So thanks a lot for taking a moment to reply the questions. And we still have 2 minutes, so if attendees still have questions to Alessia or to Fernando, please go ahead. If not, as promised at the beginning of the presentation itself and the recording will be shared with you later today. So feel free to share it with colleagues who are interested in CWAs, of course. Okay, no more questions. So thank you very much, Fernando. Thank you, Alessia, and thank you everybody who attended, and hopefully see you next time. Bye-bye.